Yeah.
School board and board docs and
Mr. Walker, am I doing the pledge? Okay. Hereby call this meeting of the Henry County School Board to order. Mrs. Ramey, if you would, with the roll call, please.
Mr. Walker.
Here.
Mrs. Durden.
Here.
Mrs. Flanagan.
Here.
Mr. Bradley.
Here.
Mr. Hardy.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mrs. Whitlow. Ms. Cochran.
Here.
And Ms. Patel.
All right. So the first item before us is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move that we approve the agenda.
All right, so I have a
Second.
full motion by Mr. Alker. I have a second by Mrs. Flanagan. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous, thank you. Certainly want to welcome all of you who've come out here tonight. Greatly appreciate having you. First thing we'll do is we'll stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Mr. Alker, if you would lead the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated. All right. So the next item on the agenda is for public comment. Our one signed up speaker is the Reverend Tyler Milner regarding community support. I'm going to read the little rules package to you, Reverend, and then it's all yours, all right? So that is, this is now the time for public comment. That means we are here to listen to you, not to engage in a question and answer period or a debate. Upon arrival at the podium, please state your name, your subject matter, and the district in which you live. By coming to the podium, you have agreed that you will exhibit respect for the board and its members, as well as the staff and students of Henry County Schools. You will receive the same consideration from the board. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes, and I will try to give you like a 30-second type warning, but not interrupt your flow. I know you're good with that, Reverend.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the board. First of all, I want to say welcome to our new superintendent in a public setting, and say we look forward to her leadership and her vision and where she might take this division, and she can depend on my support and whatever she may need to make that happen when I'm not out of town. But I want you to know that I am all for public education and want to say that it should be the #1 priority in the community. I'm getting ready to retire. I've been in this community 33 years, but for me, it's never any question that education is the #1 issue within the community. And I just want to be on record, but also I want to appeal to the community. Never sell out education for anything else, because it is the equalizer. It is the thing that truly makes a difference. And so we want to be a community that at the top is education, and all we can do for the benefit and the achievement of the youngsters. The second thing I want to say, it is a privilege for those of you who are behind the desk to be there to represent the community. And I hope that you will take that not only just to make policy and make a decision, but you really make the bridge between the school and the citizens, the ideas and the vision. And I hope that you will not only just be sitting there, but that will be out in the community helping to create the excitement that we need for the support of education. And the final statement that I want to make is to appeal to the community. You can't partner with someone if you don't have a partner. And so I want to say that we as a community, pastors, civic leaders, parents, step up and be a partner to education, because obviously there is no other strategy to make this country better, have our lives be better, and have our children to have a prospect for a better life without education. So I want to say that I have enjoyed all the time that I have worked with you and been with you. Sometimes maybe I've said things you didn't want me to say. But please know, at the bottom, it was all in the interest of youngsters and improving and excelling because of education. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to also point out, Reverend, that you did it in 2 minutes and 55 seconds.
Oh, isn't that something? I should get a hand in since I
Thank you, Reverend. So our next item is student recognitions, and we have the VSBA Bullying Prevention Cover Art Contest. The first time that we're calling you up, Ms. Cochran.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow members of the board. In efforts to bring awareness to the VSBA Bullying Prevention Month, aside from our proclamation and numerous individual school activities, the division held a Say No to Bullying weekly newsletter cover art contest. As many of you are aware, each week we share a newsletter to families with information regarding school and community activities and events. The theme of the contest was, "When we stand together, bullying ends." We are so proud to say that we had many wonderful and talented entries. Out of those entries, we are pleased to present our first and second runners-up, as well as our winner with a plaque this evening. Our second runner-up, we have Calvin Lovelace Jr. from Rich Acres Elementary. For first runner-up, we have Harley Williams from Fieldale Collinsville Middle School. And our winner was Olivia Lester from Bassett High School.
And we also have $10 Chick-fil-A gift cards.
If you had a chance to view your weekly newsletter, you would also have been able to see some of the submissions that we received from our other students. We are hopeful that we will be able to make this a yearly event, and we are so proud of every student submission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item on the agenda and information is the revisions to special placement of student regulation, and Dr. Blake Lewis.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and member of the board. Is anyone here who can address the feedback that's happening? It's echoing back through the microphone. I'm not sure what's going on. At our board retreat, we had an activity surrounding the current policy, or I should say regulation. It is a regulation for special placement of students. And the board members participated in an activity where you were able to provide us feedback on the current regulation and some of those things that were working well within that regulation, but also things that needed to be addressed to make that regulation much more functional and practical and applicable to what we do as a school system. So what you will see linked in your agenda is reflective of some of those considerations that you all identified at our recent retreat. And you'll notice that we did take into account such items as prioritization or first consideration of employees who have their children in our schools, a second consideration going to Henry County residents, and placement of non-residents would be a third consideration based on space. Another thing I would point out within the process is that we are doing this for grade spans. So once a person is approved for their child special placement at the K-5, That would be that one time that they would apply, they would be placed, they would be in that school for that duration of K-5. We would ask them to reapply coming into 6th grade, and that would be a time for us to assess how those students were doing academically, with attendance, with behavior, to determine if we wanted to continue to honor that special placement. And then we'd ask them to do that again at the 9-12 span. The document has been there for your review in board docs. Since it is a regulation and not a policy, it does not require board approval, but I would open it up to any questions that you may have at this time.
Dr. Blakey
Yes,
Lewis,
sir.
when might revision number 3 override revision number 2, or would it?
It should not, because if we are considering our employees first and then residents second, it would be dependent upon space and availability for a third level consideration for non-residents.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? We will be communicating this with our principals at our next principals meeting so that they are aware. We will also be going ahead and publicizing this through our various media sources of Parent Square, the Henry County Schools Facebook page, and just ask our principals to communicate that within their buildings with students who are currently special placed. You'll also notice in this regulation that we're going to ask everyone to go ahead and apply this year. That'll be that initial placement. So just as an example, if you have a 2nd grader who's special placed, they would go ahead and do that this year, but then they would be in that school through 5th grade. This is going to help us a lot with making teacher allocations, looking at where we're putting our resources. So I'm looking forward to the implementation of the revised regulation. As always, please ask any questions you may have as follow-up after the meeting, okay? Thank you.
So I'll just say really quickly that, I think the board's very thankful for getting on this quickly and the time spent at the retreat and after, and thank you again. So the next item is the consent agenda. So barring anyone wanting to pull anything out, you have the option to approve as a block. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Flanagan. Do I have a second?
Second.
So motion and second to approve as a block. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much. We are up to the action agenda, and the first one being the approval of the updated resolution R 1905, recognizing employee voice. Dr. Blake Lewis, you are back.
Should just stay. So again, this is an item that was brought up at our retreat. We had some discussion around the purpose of the resolution and some preferred language or topics that should be addressed within that resolution. It is my understanding that the board passed a similar resolution back in 2018, I think it might have been, and so it was time to revisit and update that language. So what you will see attached here in board docs is that updated version of the resolution. And with the chairman's permission, I will read the document aloud if that is okay.
That you have permission.
Perfect. So this is Resolution R19-05 of the School Board of Henry County, recognizing employee voice. Whereas employees have a right to express opinions and concerns in a respectful and constructive manner, and whereas employees recognize there are structures available for the communication of opinions and concerns that include, but are not limited to, administrators, school improvement teams, advisory groups, etc. And whereas relevant information and concerns that are aligned with district values and policies should be shared through appropriate platforms and at appropriate times without fear of retaliation. And whereas by engaging thoughtfully and professionally, employees aim to contribute positively to the workplace. And whereas the School Board of Henry County recognizes that the expertise of its teachers, administrators, classified staff, and other employees is essential to implementation of school policy. And whereas it is essential for all employees who work tirelessly to make a difference in the lives of our students, to feel respected and empowered as professionals, and have a voice in critical decisions affecting our schools. And whereas the board supports the right of employees to advocate for public education and public school students in a way that does not violate confidentiality laws, interfere with work responsibilities, or violate district policy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Henry County that as the School Board of Henry County, we recognize the importance of participation by school employees in public discussion of local, state, and national school policy, commends our staff for past advocacy, and encourage employees to continue advocacy for public school students and public education in a way that is consistent with the role and responsibility of education professionals. This is part of the action agenda, so it would require board approval, but I'm also available to address any questions at this time.
Any questions or comments?
Well, I'll make a comment. Glad that we did revisit this. Not to take credit or anything, but in 2018, this was one of my pet peeves.
Okay.
And so having new administrators, new teachers to our district since then, I think it's necessary to let them know how we feel and we support giving them a voice. So I'm glad that we decided to revisit this.
Any other questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion?
So
Mr.
moved.
Chairman.
A motion by Mr. Gravely,
Second.
second by Mr. Hardy. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And we are up to the approval of the FY 2024 budget amendments. Dr. Boone.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. In June of 2023, the School Board of Henry County approves a total budget request in the amount of $101,018,350 for the school division's operating budget for FY24. Of this, a little over $19 million was in local funding. The Board of Supervisors approved this budget in July. This was part of the reduced budget by the state at that time called the skinny budget. On October 12th, the Virginia Department of Education published a calculation template with detailed budget information related to the amended budget. It was adopted by the General Assembly in September and signed by the governor at that time. Total expected state revenue minus grants is $70,449,501. This is an additional $1,494,703 that's being allocated by the state to help fund support positions and provide the remaining 2% of the state share for the overall 7% increase for teachers and classified staff. I do want to point out that the 7% increase for teachers and classified staff began July 1 with the budget that was presented in June. The board made the necessary cuts within our budget to have those raises for our staff. And I want to say many surrounding districts at that time did not do that. So our staff has been receiving that 7% increase from the beginning of July, and a lot of other divisions will not initiate that until January. So the funding that we are receiving from the state is going back to replace those budgets that we cut. So for our facilities budget, it's going to be an increase of about $665,000. For technology, it's an increase of about $130,000. For operations and maintenance, it's an increase of about $300,000. In purchase services and utilities, and for instruction, it's an increase of about $400,000. It's recommended that the adjusted budget amendments below and transfer sheet be approved as presented and forwarded to the Board of Supervisors.
Questions or comments?
Just a quick comment. I'm glad you clarified that 2% was already given to our staff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and and that speaks volumes from you guys' standpoint in that being proactive and looking at that prior to, because you're right, a lot of school districts now are trying to implement that 2%, which, so you'd be commended for that.
Well, I commend the board for that. Made us very competitive with surrounding districts.
Any other question or comment there? Or from anyone else on the board? All right. If none at this time, anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the updated budget.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Alker, second by Mrs. Flanagan. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much. We are now up to approval of proposed school board policy JFGM, use of metal detectors.
The proposed policy reflects efforts to enhance safety in our division by the use of metal detectors. Policies may be found in board docs under draft policies. The revisions are presented as a second reading. It's recommended that the revisions be approved as presented. We will begin the use of metal detectors solely for right now for our after-school activities, starting with winter sports.
Question or comments from the board? Not seeing any motion to be made.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Flanagan, second by
Second.
Mr. Gravely. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much. We're now up to approval to award bid for replacement of HVAC system at Rich Acres. Mr. Scott.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bids were solicited for replacement of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment at Rich Acres Elementary School with an alternate for replacing the chiller at Axman Elementary. The equipment listed in the bid has exceeded its life expectancy and is in need of replacement. And the replacement of this equipment will improve the comfort and indoor air quality for this building. Of the two firms that responded to the bids, Waco Incorporated from Sandstone, Virginia, provided a total bid of $2,207,000, and as a bid summary provided for your review. It is recommended that the bids be awarded to Waco Incorporated from Sandstone, Virginia, in the amount of $2,207,000, and forward the necessary appropriations for this project to the Board of Supervisors.
Questions or comments from the board?
Do we have, this is not gonna be a Bassett, is it? What's the timeline on this?
The plan is to be able to tackle this next summer on it. And I will say that it is a lot of different equipment and a different equipment manufacturer that's coming in with it. So hopefully that will help us on our delivery time.
And I said, I know we're gonna have two projects going on at the same time, so.
We have multiple ones, yes, sir, next
Yeah,
year. Yes, sir.
okay.
All right. Any other question or comment from the board? Okay, not hearing any. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the award bid for the replacement of the HVAC system at Rich Acres Elementary School.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Second by Mr. Hawker. I was going to say I'm not shocked by a motion by you, Mr. Hardy, for Rich Acres. But motion second on the floor. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you. Now we're over to the approval to award bid for replacement of HVAC at Stanleytown.
Yes, sir. Bids were solicited for replacement of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment at Stanleytown Elementary. The equipment listed in the bid has exceeded its life expectancy as well, and is in need of replacement. The replacement of this equipment will improve the comfort and indoor air quality for the building. And of the two firms that responded to the bid, Crider Mechanical from Roanoke, Virginia, provided a total bid of $2,096,000, and a bid summary is attached as well for that project. It is recommended that the bid be awarded to Crider Mechanical Incorporated from Roanoke, Virginia, in the amount of $2,096,000.
All right. Any questions or comments from the board? Not seeing any. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I can't make the motion, even though Stanleytown's my school. I know.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Flanagan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gravely. Thank you very much. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, unanimous. Thank you. So now we are, once again, Mr. Scott, approval to award contract for professional architectural and engineering services for new field houses at Magna Vista and Bassett High Schools.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Probably it's important for me to mention those last two projects were ESSER funds
Correct.
as well. So just wanted to touch base, make sure I made that note in there. RMM Architects of Roanoke, Virginia holds an open-end contract with the school division and has provided fee proposals in its total amount of $326,400 for design, construction documents, and bidding for the new field houses. Field houses will be located near the football field at Bassett High School and between the football and baseball fields at Magna Vista. This project has been on our capital improvement plan for quite some time, as you know, and will provide additional safety measures for our teams. So it's recommended that a contract in the amount of $326,400 be awarded to RMM Architects for professional A&E services for this project listed above, and forward the necessary appropriations for this project to the Board of Supervisors.
Questions or comments from the board?
Well, I'd just like to make a comment in that we are building new field houses at both high schools, and from the public standpoint, this is, I guess, one of our first major projects that we've done using that 1% sales tax. So just to let people know that this is something that I think, looking at our high schools, to bring our high schools up to date and utilizing those funds, for our students, so
Yes, sir.
I think that's, again, commendable.
Thank you, Mr. Gravely. I was going to say the same. When I went around knocking doors both last time and this time for re-election, one of the main things I heard from folks was the need for field houses. And when the 1% was being voted on, that was one of the items I heard from folks in support of it. So I'm glad to see us moving forward, and this being one of, like you said, the first major project related to that. So if there are no other questions or comments, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Flanagan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hawker. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're back to awards and recognitions. Take your legislator to school month, and we call upon our student school board member again, Ms. Cochran.
Whereas local school boards and state legislators must work together to promote high expectations and transparency that helps Virginia students become productive, hardworking individuals. And whereas a best-in-class education system is essential to the economic prosperity of Virginia and ensures that we continue to make social, technological, and scientific advancements. And whereas it is critical that all students in Virginia are afforded the opportunity to receive an excellent education, and partnership between parents, teachers, school boards, legislators, and education leaders is paramount to our students' educational success. And whereas Virginia School Boards Association's Take Your Legislator to School Month serves as an opportunity to promote productive relationships between state legislators and their local school boards to best serve Virginia students. And whereas Take Your Legislator to School Month acknowledges the hard work and dedication of the teachers and education leaders serving Virginia's public schools. And whereas during this month of recognition, Virginians are encouraged to have a renewed commitment to putting our students first. Now, therefore, I, Glenn Youngkin, do hereby recognize November 2023 as Take Your Legislator to School Month in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I call this observance to the attention of our citizens.
Thank you very much. And then our next recognition is Native American Heritage Month in Virginia.
Whereas Native Americans have inhabited the land now known as the Commonwealth of Virginia for thousands of years, and whereas Virginia is home to 11 state-recognized Indian troops, the Nottoway, Chickahominy, Eastern Chickahominy, Mattapony, Monacan, Nansemond, Nottoway, Pamunkey, Potawatomi, United Rappahannock, and the Upper Mattapony. And whereas thousands of Native Americans from other tribes across the country have moved to Virginia and called the Commonwealth their home. And whereas Virginia's Native American community enriches the Commonwealth with its culture and traditions, while also serving as a significant contributor to Virginia through their commitment to environmental stewardship. And whereas American Indian Day was established in Virginia in 1987, the General Assembly expanded to a week in 1988. The General Assembly revised the recognition to Native American Indian Month in 1996, proclaimed the Wednesday immediately preceding Thanksgiving as a day of appreciation for American Indians in the Commonwealth of Virginia of each year. And whereas Native American Heritage Month is an opportunity to celebrate the thousands of American Indians in Virginia that help shape the cultural fabric of our nation and strengthen the spirit of Virginia through their rich and important culture. Now therefore, I, Glenn Youngkin, do hereby recognize November 2023 as Native American Heritage Month in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I call this observance to the attention of our citizens.
Thank you very much. And I'll have to say, you nailed the pronunciation.
I hope so.
We are now up to the Apple Distinguished School Award. So, Mr. Richardson.
Good evening. My name is James Richardson, and I am the account executive for Apple for the state of Virginia. And it is my honor to be here this evening to award your school, Career Academy. I'm sorry, a little nervous. I haven't presented in front of the board before, so. Career Academy, the Apple Distinguished School Award. And so what is an Apple Distinguished School? Apple Distinguished Schools represents hubs of educational excellence and leadership, showcasing Apple's vision for technology-infused learning. We consider them to be among the most pioneering educational institutions globally. Not only that, for this particular program, Career Academy, it is the only CTE program in the state of Virginia that is being awarded and that has been awarded the Apple Distinguished School Program. And it's only one of 2 that has been awarded this year. So I am here to award not only Henry County Public Schools, but also Principal Mike Mentor. One quick note about Principal Mike Mentor. Last year, this time when we had the opportunity to visit and was doing a presentation during the summer Principal Academy, Mike came up to me and said, James, we're going to be an Apple Distinguished School. And guess what? You're now an Apple Distinguished School.
So just to kind of put it in context, thank you, Mr. Richardson. I have to say, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We're one of 400 schools in the world to receive this award, and that's an accomplishment to what Henry County is capable of. Thank you to senior leadership, to our technology department, but I have to say a special thank you to the staff of Career Academy and especially the students. And Ty Hairston is here. He's a graduate from last year. He's at Radford University. He's in cybersecurity. And Ty, you want to give us a little bit of insight on what this was, what you and I and some of the other people worked on?
Good afternoon. From the first day we met with Mr. James, he gave us like an image of like good ideas, and Mr. Mentor gave me and a couple other students an image of what he wanted, and we just attacked it and showcased the school.
So Ms. Fulcher, if you will share a video. This is one component to the application process for Apple we want to share with you. Do the success.
Vision. The Career Academy was founded with the idea of equity, making sure that all students in Henry County Public Schools had an opportunity to expand their horizon and meet the needs of local, regional, and global industry. Here at the Career Academy, we believe in students leading and taking the charge of our building. They're involved in every decision that is made at the school. They're involved in the instruction, the design, and every facet of what we do while at the Career Academy. Our students take charge in their learning. They reach new heights. They become creative. They travel to other places. They visit with industry leaders and make a mark on Henry County, leaving a legacy that will take the charge for future generations as they move into the industry, college, career, or military. Our students are the future of Henry County.
Academy gives our students an opportunity to work with the community and to have an internship where they work in an actual salon doing hair, building their clientele, as well as connections.
Here at Career Academy, we work on many projects for the community. I brought in a drink machine with a bag compressor. So what we would do is we would search up the replacement piece, and we would replace it on the unit, and then we would fix it, and we would repair it for someone in the community. And that's just some of the ways that we use our technology here at the Career Academy.
Career Academy, I get a lot of hands-on experience compared to at Bay School. It's just classwork. So we get to do a lot of hands-on activities, and it's really helpful for my education.
I get a lot of opportunities here that I wouldn't get at my Bay School, such as an actual lab, we have 3D printers, and we also have a simulator where we can do coding and hacking.
Imagination is a critical piece to students being successful, and Apple devices give us the opportunity to have unlimited imagination. We utilize each of our tools in our building on a daily basis for our students' success.
Do you have any questions for us?
Questions or comments from the board?
I have one question. I'm just curious what you plan to do after you're done with school.
I plan to join the CIA and do cybersecurity.
Good job.
Thank you.
I will just say I figured you'd run the CIA.
I'm going to ask the staff and the students that are here to come up and take a picture with us while we hold our banner and our award.
Thank you all.
Yep, thank you.
Congrats. Good job. Good job.
So we are now up to superintendent's reports.
Again, members of the board, you'll see attached in board docs the superintendent's monthly highlights. So I've got a few things that have come in after I created this document for you. So I'll start with the document. Just a reminder that it is VSBA's Take Your Legislator to School month. I know so far Mr. Hardy has contacted us with his intentions to invite legislators. So if you do have plans to invite your legislator, please let us know. We do have access to some resources from VSBA to help with that communication of that visit, and also just some additional things that we can put out in the public to assist with attendance and just communication of that event. Last week in the boardgram, I shared with you just a Google Doc for any of the holiday events that may be taking place throughout our community. So if you know of events that maybe I should plan to attend, I would love for you all to attend with me. So you'll notice on that document we already have a few of our local parades listed. I've also put in a couple of our elementary winter music concerts there. So just a lot of things coming up this time of year, and I think it would be great for all of us to make an effort to attend some of these events and be represented in our community. As Lakin reminded us, November is American Indian Heritage Month, and so I'm sure that our classrooms will be filled with activities and observance of the impact of American Indians on the heritage of Virginia. I will be out of the office on November 8th at the Region 6 Superintendent's Meeting, and this month is being held in Roanoke. On November 11th, we have the rescheduled Latino Festival. Remember, that was originally scheduled in September, but there was some terrible rain that prevented that festival from occurring, but they've rescheduled it for Saturday, November 11th. It will still be at the Smith River Sports Complex. And then, of course, we have our Thanksgiving holidays coming up. Just as a reminder, I'm now in phase 2 of the superintendent's entry plan. So we have gone through and had those community meetings. Phase 2 is just the analysis of that data and the feedback from the community. So my team and I here at the division level will be looking at some of that information, having some conversations around our strategic plan and what we plan to do to move forward. I am beginning to plan virtual community meetings for February or March, and so I will certainly keep the board apprised of that. And then, of course, there will be several of us attending the VSBA convention in Williamsburg, November 15th through the 17th. So I look forward to sharing some additional time with those of you who will be attending that. In addition to these highlights, I want to extend a thank you to Reverend Milner. He came and visited here in the division office with me last week. We had a great exchange regarding his vision for community involvement in our schools, and I hope that even in his retirement that he will continue to be a force within the community to promote that involvement with the school system. He also brought me flowers, which was just a nice added touch, and so I do want to publicly thank him for his involvement in our school system through the years. We are making some revisions to our All-In Virginia plan. I know I had mentioned that to you all at the retreat as well, but we've submitted that plan and should be able to present some of the particulars to you at the December meeting. We are planning to hold some of those 2x2 meetings with board members in the month of December. We hope to have some preliminary budget information, but we're also going to be sharing or previewing with you some of the work that we're doing with the compensation, the salary study. We met today as a leadership team in the division, and we've got some groundwork laid for that. So I'll be sending out some calendar times to you all for December 13th, 14th, and 15th. And we'll have some morning times, but some afternoon to evening times as well to accommodate board member schedules. So please be sure that you're looking for that. I'm continuing to meet with teacher advisory and support staff advisory for their input on key issues within the division. Particularly upcoming with those groups, I'll be asking them to give some input on the annual calendar, the school calendar. But also looking to address our strategic plan and looking at making sure that we're meeting the needs of our diverse population and being conscious of the need for equity and inclusion of the multiple stakeholders across our division. Finally, I do want to recognize the MagnaFlux robotics team. I had the pleasure of attending their scrimmage on Saturday. It was hosted at Magna Vista High School. It was just a scrimmage. They're in preparation for actual competition, and they were kind enough to send me a little card saying thank you, and the members of the team signed it. So I just want to give them a shout out for sharing their Saturday with me. Our students are doing some great things with robotics, and I also want to make sure that I recognize Ms. Phyllis Mead for her work with those groups of students and doing some wonderful things with STEM and robotics. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Lewis, to update on, take your legislator to my school month for the school board members.
Yes, sir.
About 10 or 15 minutes before the board meeting began tonight, Delegate Les Adams out of Chatham, his secretary called me, and it was kind of hard here on the voicemail because I did not hear my phone.
Okay.
But she, Delegate Adams will be at Magna Vista High School on Ava. I'll let you know here in a few minutes when I listen to my voicemail.
Sure.
But he will be at Magna Vista High School Ava on November 28th or the 29th, and he plans to be there from 10 to 12.
Okay.
And I do have an agenda, but I would need to discuss that with you and the board first before we can finalize that, I'm sure.
Certainly. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, so we are now up to matters from the board. Mr. Gravely, if you would like to, you want me to pass it down? Okay. I can do it, whichever way you like.
Yeah, well, I have, I won't say quite a bit, but I wanted to update the board on VSBA legislation since I was chosen to be the delegate. So I'm going to vote, and I have to vote on behalf of the board. So you need to know what we're going to vote on. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. I can go first. All right. Well, as stated, I'm going to be a delegate. We had a Zoom meeting today, as a matter of fact, and we went over, there are 4 legislative proposals that VSBA is going to recommend, and they suggested that we share with our board so that when we vote, we're voting on behalf of the board. So it's not Ben Gravely, this is our board. So you need to know what I'm going to vote on, and you need to advise me as to which way to vote, yay or nay. All right. The first legislative proposal is school facility construction funds and financing. And it reads, the VSBA urges the General Assembly and the U.S. Congress to provide substantial and sustained funding to finance local school construction, renovation, and debt service costs with disbursements to local boards, including specific incentives for safety, security, upgrades to better protect students and staff, as well as incentives for energy-efficient construction and renovation to reduce the lifetime operating costs of school facilities. Now, I know that was a mouthful, but we need to decide on, do we want to support this or not? I have my personal opinion, but of course, the board. Legislative proposal number 2, employee criminal background checks. The VSBA supports legislation that provides state funding to conduct federal and state criminal background checks for all new employees, calls for the State Department of Education to establish a state clearinghouse for the results of such criminal background checks, and supports the state fully funding local participation in Virginia's implementation of the FBI, NGI, non-criminal justice wrap back service, all those are federal agencies, reporting and notification of public school employee misconduct. Okay. Proposal number 3, very brief, school zone safety standards. The Virginia School Boards Association supports additional local authority and flexibility in setting safety standards in school zones. In other words, we get to dictate how we want to control that. And the whole idea is to cut back on incidents happening on school property with traffic and these type of things, but we have. Okay? And the last proposal, judicial enforcement of truancy. VSBA strongly encourages judicial proceedings to follow a standard timeline with automatic actions taken at each step of the truancy timeline. The courts have established outcomes prescribed by the Code of Virginia and Virginia legal status that allow for specific actions in relation to truancy matters for both the student and the parent and guardian. The request is that a firm, fair, and timely implementation of those outcomes be standardized and practiced in each courtroom in the Commonwealth of Virginia. All right, so those are the 4 proposals, and at some point I need to know how to vote, yay or nay on those proposals. I don't know if it's
What
something
is the timeline for the vote, Mr. Brown?
the vote will not be until we convene at the conference.
Okay.
So I believe
A
it's...
couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a couple of weeks, but I wanted to share it with you so that you know what we have to endorse, or, if we vote against it, fine.
And I believe it's the Thursday afternoon of the convention, so I want to say it's the 16th.
It is.
And I want
16.
to thank Mr. Gravely for serving as our delegate, because as the immediate past president, I'm over the nominating committee and a few other functions, and also have already had votes on some of these matters, so, you know, I'd be voting twice. And so, no, I appreciate you taking the time and putting in the effort. I'm also glad that I think last year I presided over one of the longer delegate assemblies. I want to say it lasted 4 hours and there was 13 positions to go through. So I'm glad that I don't think we'll have to endure the same.
Yeah, we got 4.
Yeah, I think it's one reason it's a lot less this year. But
yeah.
Is that readily available on the VSBA website for us to review, or something that you can provide?
We can certainly provide it. I don't know. I think it's available via the login, but it's also sent out to all delegates and alternates and this, that, and the other, so we can certainly get it to you.
Yeah.
And Mr. Gravely, you have studied those quite a bit. Do you see any of those that you should vote against? They all sound good to me.
Yeah, and again, we had the Zoom meeting today, and the process is that these proposals have been vetted, I guess, if you will, through 2 separate entities from VSBA. So listening to them, I feel good about them. I really do.
So the quick process is the local board, such as ourselves, can make a motion to the state school board, VSBA, and say, this is a position we would like you to look at. Then, to Mr. Gravely's point, there's a legislative positions committee with a representative from the local boards in each district to look at. They vote on it. It gets sent to the state board of directors. They review it, and then it goes out to the delegates. So that's how you have from local to regional to state and back. And I will also say last year we had one that passed by 1 vote, and we even had some abstentions, so there was some dispute as to whether that should have passed or not. But like that is how close they can get. But I think I concur with Mr. Gravely on, you know, these seem to be rather, you know, uncontroversial in my mind. All right. Anything else on that, or?
No, that's all I have on this.
Okay.
But I would, since I'm speaking,
sure.
One comment. I'm glad to hear from Dr. Lewis when she referenced DEI, because that was one of my questions, whether or not we still have those committees in place and are we meeting and et cetera. So I assume we are, huh?
If I may clarify.
Yes.
To my knowledge, those committees have not been meeting, but I am certainly committed to making sure that we do put forth those efforts as part of my phase 2 of reviewing some of that initial data from those community meetings. And so, yes, that is going to definitely be a topic that we will be looking at.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
So,
all right. Mrs. Flanagan.
I'm good.
All right. Mr. Alker.
I would really like to congratulate Mr. Mentor and all of his staff and the students. You do fantastic work. I don't get down there as often as I should or could, but it's just great the way they're doing and putting those kids to work. Thank you.
That's it. All right. Mrs. Durden.
I have 2 things. First is in regards to Parent Square, and I know that it has been a process, and you know, now that we've gotten all the hurdles of implementing out of the way, I think that it is very impressive. I think it is concise and very easy to use, and I have heard that from a lot of people as well. So I just wanted to thank Mrs. Easley and everyone else that rolled that out and did all the hard work to get that in place and get rid of all the, 500 different means of communication that we had before. And then second, I want to thank our school resource officers for their positive impact that they're having on the students. You know, I get to see Laurel Park almost on a daily basis, so I know what he does, but I had the privilege just randomly driving by Drury Mason a few mornings ago, and I saw a very small student parent trying to pull them away from giving their school resource officer a hug to, go into the school. So they are very much appreciated, and I'm thankful for the positive impact that they have.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy, I believe you're up.
Okay. Real short here. Just want to mention Bassett High School at the Smith River Clash. That's a big game every year between two county schools, Magna Vista Warriors and the Bassett Bengals. It was complete sportsmanship at the game. It was one of the few games I did not see a single unsportsmanlike penalty called on either team. They congratulated each other at the end of the game, and also and they had a fantastic halftime show. I also want to mention Drury Mason. Drury Mason are the increase of reading scores are vital in Henry County. So Drury Mason, they had a read or treat where the students receive a book when they went through kind of like a Halloween treat, but anyway, they received a book plus and a little bit of candy too. Okay, our FFA chapters in Henry County, 2 of them, Magna Vista and also Bassett, are participating in the 96th National Convention this week at Indianapolis, Indiana, and I wish them the best of success as they do so. Also, I agree with Mr. Alker and everyone else. Thank you, Mr. Minter, and the entire Career Academy for the outstanding job y'all guys are doing out there. And since this is the scheduled last public meeting in Henry County before Thanksgiving, I want to wish everyone a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Ms. Cochran.
I just wanted to say that I was talking to some sophomores at Magna Vista the other day, and they had mentioned that they went to interest meetings for the Governor's School and ACE programs, and I just wanted to say how important it was for schools to promote those two programs to students, because it gives them like a unique learning opportunity that you really can't find anywhere else, a vigorous course load and different classes that you can't have at your normal base schools. So I'm glad that we're trying to get underclassmen interested in these programs and show them that how many different classes and skills you can learn in high school.
Thank you very much. So I'll try to make mine brief as well. And thank you, Mr. Hardy, for reminding us that Thanksgiving is quickly coming upon us. 1 minute is Halloween, the next minute is Christmas, right? You got it right. There's a lot to be thankful for. I want to congratulate Career Academy. It's amazing recognition, and thank you, Mr. Richardson, for coming all the way down here. And by the way, you did very well for a first-time board presentation. I also want to congratulate the Bassett Band on another state title. And of course, I'll have to point out that you can also support them and the band boosters at their craft show on the 18th and the 19th. And then I want to recognize that several of our schools are having blood drives, Bassett and Magna Vista, as well as the one that I'll coordinate at Stanleytown Elementary in memory of my aunt. That's Saturday, December the 2nd, 9 to 2. So hopefully we'll have some great turnout at each of these and help a lot of people. Of course, Dr. Blake Lewis reminded you, I've got some ballots here. If you want to vote on the holiday card submission from our students, there's some very impressive work from our students, each at the elementary, middle, and high school level. So we'll go through that if you haven't had the opportunity to see or vote. And then thank you, Mr. Hardy, for both the reach outs on the Take Your Legislator School Month. I also wanted to thank for the hospitality at the Farm Bureau for Dr. Blake Lewis and myself. And Dr. Blake Lewis was a great speaker. So thanks for helping with the recognition and support, and thanks to Dr. Blake Lewis for all the community outreach. And then the final thing I think I can say is I appreciate the quick follow-up on the salary study. I feel that there's been some confusion there between, we gave the 7% the entire time, other divisions did not. That was a point of emphasis for the board, Mr. Gravely, myself, et cetera. But of course, also that I think it belies some other points of some of our need for funding and ability to address some of these to be competitive in the market. So look forward to additional conversations with the Board of Supervisors, their administration, et cetera, on addressing these so we can be competitive, particularly as the other divisions catch up to us with giving the other 2%. So just wanted to point that out and again say thank you to you all and all of you for being here. And the next is reminders of meetings and events. Dr. Blake Lewis has already mentioned various parades and other events, but our next regularly scheduled board meeting is December the 7th here, as well as before you know it, it'd be the new year, January 4th back here. And then, of course, conference-wise, we have the VSBA annual convention that will be in a couple weeks. So look forward to seeing many of you there. And then before you know it, we'll be at the Capitol Conference meeting with our legislators because a new General Assembly session will be here. And it'll just on and on before you know it. But look forward to that. Then if nobody has anything else, we're getting ready to get up to the closed session item. So anything before we get there? All right. If not, we have for closed session 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia for discussion of appointments, separations, and evaluations of personnel. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Flanagan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gravely. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right.